Well, hello Facebook family. I'm down Laguna, beautiful spot here. Just went on a run and was doing some meditation, and I wanted to share an insight with you about masculine and feminine energy. And I have a kind of a good setup so I can see you. So I think there's an interesting concept, and I think nature's always the greatest teacher. I have a lot of men in my men's retreats that are, masculine and feminine energy. It doesn't matter if somebody is necessarily heterosexual, homosexual. A lot of times there's masculine energy and there's feminine energy, and that's what creates the polarity. And I just wanted to share something really interesting about nature to help kind of ground this in. So much of the time, a lot of the men I find at the men's retreats are dating really powerful, empowered women. And a lot of times this energy can show up like, how do I handle this energy? And I just wanted to share a concept, like if we take a look at these rocks, let me see how I put this. So if we take a look at these rocks right here, right? It's like we're looking at these rocks. Imagine if, for a second, that the ocean is the feminine energy and the rocks are the masculine energy. And, this masculine energy that's the rock, sometimes there's calm. Sometimes the waves aren't crashing down. Sometimes they're underwater. Sometimes they're above water. Right, so if we think about these rocks, if let's say you're the feminine energy, sometimes there's these waves that are crashing and it's all over the place, and sometimes it's very calm, and sometimes it's very peaceful, and other times it's flipped. Again, if you're just getting on, I'm just sharing the difference between masculine and feminine energy, and I wanted to share, it's like the rock. So, hey, what's going on, Billy? What's up, Courtney? So I just wanted to share this. The next time that you find yourself, let's say, in the masculine role and frustrated with the feminine energy, and it's all over the place, right? Imagine it's like the rocks and the waves are crashing and the rocks are complaining that the waves are crashing. Like, do you think, the rocks have been here for forever, right? And the waves are just gonna crash again, and then they're just gonna be calm again. And then they're just gonna crash again, and then they're just gonna be calm again. So I find fighting with reality, fighting with the way things are, it's like, how do we more move into a place of certainty within ourselves? How do we move into a place of acceptance that there's going to be calm and there's going to be the storm? I think in the same metaphor, and we can still be that presence, the presence of a rock that's unchanging, the presence of a rock that has certainty within us, that can feel into our heart. Hey, Nancy. Hey, Tangi. When no matter what's going on above us, no matter what's going on here, how can we stay grounded in who we are, in our purpose, in our clarity, in our heart, and what we believe, and why we're here? And I think it's also interesting when we're taking a look at the rocks. That's like crashing. It's like now all of a sudden it was like slow, and now all of a sudden the waves are crashing, and it's getting intense, right? Like you see these. So imagine when the rocks are above water, you have one perspective. So I think it's also like the void. Sometimes we just think that life is going to be perfect and calm and storm, and there's going to be no void. And I think it's not the case. There's always going to be the ups and there's always going to be the downs. So sometimes when the tide is out, and when the tide's out, the rock, you're like above water and you have perspective and you can see, and there's a lot of clarity and it feels really light. You're not like engulfed in water. And then other times the tide goes in, and if you're that rock, you're underwater, and the water's above you. And when the water's above you, you can't see anything, and it's like the void. You're like in this unknown new world, but if we're able to be present in that void and unattached to like, I want to be outside the water, but the truth is the water's above us. So imagine if we're fighting, and I think this is the case so much of the time, we're fighting with reality. We're fighting with the water's above us because the tide just came in, and we're the rock and we're underneath the water. And if we're able to accept it and settle into it and be with it, we're able to see fish swimming around that weren't there before. We're able to be present in the moment and see coral reefs or whatever that world has. And in that surrender to what is, there's a whole different world. And could it be fearful? If you're this rock that feels one way outside of the water, could it be fearful when you're underneath the water, or what that means? But then again, if you just wait a little bit, at time there's going to come another time, and then the water's going to go down. You're going to be outside the water again. So I think there's so much truth in nature, and I feel like so much of the time we're fighting the truth with what is. And I think there's just a metaphor of like the void's always going to be there. Learn to be with it and let the tides come in and let the tides go out, and learn to be present in our hearts so that we can accept what's showing up and see the beauty around us when the tides are in and when we're underwater. And then how do we see the beauty and when we're outside the water? And I think the same thing with the masculine energy is like, how do we hold space amidst the storm? You know, when there's a storm going on with the feminine energy. And that may not always be a partnership. Maybe that's life. Maybe that's the political times. Maybe that's the economy. Maybe that's crazy things happening with your family or with your friends or with your work or with your environment. How do sometimes we be the rock and just accept that we're kind of in a, hey Tina, hey Wendy, how can we accept that the place that we're at, and maybe we're just in a time where it's a chaotic storm and it's intense and we're a rock and we're just getting beat up one thing after the next, and we're just continuing to get rocked. And then sometimes, you know, it calms down again, and then we're able to see that contrast and that peace. And, you know, so I just want to share this. And yeah, Nancy, I agree. I think sometimes I hear what you're saying, is sometimes it's not about fixing something, but at the same time, as men, a lot of times we're programmed to fix. So we're looking for, how do I solve something? How do I fix something? And I think this message is just like, how do we look for what's in nature? What's in nature is already here. What we have in our body, our truths are already within our body, within nature. It's all around us. So seeing the rocks, seeing nature, it has a lot of lessons from us on how to live life and how to be more in our hearts and how to be more accepting of when things are working and when things aren't working. And if they're always going to be like this, it ties into heartbreak. We're going to go through ups and downs. We're going to go through love. We're going to go through loss. We're going to go through heartbreak. We're going to go through joy. We're going to go through sadness. It's all going to be there, and it's going to keep being there. So I think, like, how do we surrender our minds that are trying to, like, it's just like nature. Imagine, I'll do it one more time just to really prove the point. Imagine if you're this rock and you're complaining that the waves are crashing on you. They're going to keep crashing, right? They're not going to stop. So, like, how do we learn to accept the way things are? Like, it just is. It's going to be up and it's going to be down, and it's going to be up and it's going to be down. And how do we learn to live from our hearts while that's happening? How do we learn to not freeze up or, you know, lock ourselves in our head? And I think the head would be being a rock and not accepting with the way life is. The head would be living in the past or living in worry or stress of the future, or it'd be worrying on guilt and shame from the past, versus just being in our hearts and living from the moment and accepting there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs and there's going to be heartbreak and there's going to be sadness, and it's just ebbs and flows. And so I just wanted to send this message to you of a gentle reminder, you know, on the masculine energy. When there's a storm, hold in there, just be present. The storm will pass. And the stronger the partner you pick, a lot of times, there's actually a great book, The Way of the Superior Man. I highly recommend it for relationships from both sides of the partner, the men and the women, or masculine, feminine, whatever partnership this is. And it talks about being a strong masculine man. And it gives this metaphor of, like, a good partner will always challenge you. So if you have a strong partner, they're always going to challenge you. So a lot of times I hear a lot of men get upset because they're being challenged all the time. And if you don't have a challenge, then you're bored. So you're going to be challenged. So he gives this metaphor, this great story of a man's goal was to save $1 million. And he spends 20 years saving $1 million. And he finally hits the goal, and he comes home and he's like, honey, I've saved $1 million. We hit our goal. And she's like, did you get the milk? And he throws his temper tantrum, right? So there's one way you could do it, where you could get upset and be like, she doesn't appreciate me, she doesn't respect me, you know, did she not hear me what I did? Or there's another acknowledgy where you could sit there and go, oh, even though I'm on my peak day, it's a good woman, she's challenging me, or a good partner. If it's not a woman, maybe it's two men or two women, but your partner challenges you, and you stand up and go, oh, good woman challenging me, and then you grab your partner and you dip them down and say, no, I forgot the milk, but we're millionaires, so let's go celebrate by getting the milk. So again, I think it's just a powerful metaphor of, like, if you're the rock, you're the rock. It doesn't matter what storm comes, you can't handle. And if you're the feminine, and sometimes you're all of nature, how do you accept that you're all of nature instead of trying to hold down your light, instead of feeling like you're too much? How do you allow yourself to be that full vibrancy of nature, where you're the full storm and you're the full calm, and you're the full storm and you're the full calm? And I think the same's true with men. How do we allow ourselves to be the full, or the masculine energy? How do you allow yourself to be all of it? How do you allow yourself to feel the depths of your dark? Again, when I look at these rocks, you see dark things beneath the water. There's some darkness there. How do we allow ourselves to feel the depth of our darkness, our anger, our emotion, and allow it to have a place, but a healthy place where we're not taking it out on ourselves or the ones we love? Like healthy ways of getting that emotion out, but feeling it. and the calm. So again, this is just a message. I hope it was helpful. I'm wishing you all a beautiful day. I just want to share my experiences. I'm down here in beautiful Laguna, beautiful weather and beautiful insights. And I wish you all a beautiful day. Hey, Nancy, congratulations on your 33rd anniversary. I'm glad this was helpful. I think there was a couple other, I just want to see if there's any other comments real quick before I jump out. I think that was it. I think that was it. So much love to you guys. I wish you a beautiful day, and I will talk to you soon.